Hi, Midlife Goddess here. I'm back from vacation-ish, not really vacation. I had to go to a wedding, but as you can see, I got some sun and vitamin D, and yeah, sun definitely puts everyone in a better mood, doesn't it? I mean, once you have a little tan, you feel a little better. And by the way, I have never worn sunblock and everyone thinks I'm crazy. And now all these people are saying that sun's so good for you. It's like I knew it. It's like I knew it the whole time. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about whether or not you're settling for someone, okay? Settling. So we've all settled. We've all had someone who we dated who we felt like we were settling. And we've all seen a friend or a loved one who is obviously settling. Let's judge other people first, then we'll get back to ourselves. Let's do the fun thing and judge other people. It's so mean. But no, actually, I feel like it's when you think you don't really care about someone that much, and then you see them settling with someone, and you see them really settling, and they're like with someone who you think is not fit to carry their shoes, would not be good enough for them, even if they were 100 times worse than they are, then you feel badly for them. You realize that you do care about that person. So there's the positive in judging, right? If you look at your friend or your loved one or someone you're not even that close to, and this is their new boyfriend, here comes their new boyfriend, or here comes their new girlfriend, woo! And you're just like, oh no, what are they thinking? And you really feel badly for them. I guess in a way your judgment is caring, because you think better of them than that. Okay, now let's talk about why you might think that this person is settling, like one big thing that we could all notice, right? And that is when you meet your friend or whoever, let's just call it friend. When you meet your friend's new boyfriend or girlfriend and they flirt with you, or they flirt with other people in the room, when they make sexual sort of comments to anyone in the room besides the person they're with, when they look people up and down, and this can be guys or girls. This can be girls too. There are girls who are so insecure that they'll show up with a guy they're dating and then they'll flirt with the guy's friends. Yes. And there'll be guys that'll show up with a girl they're dating and they'll flirt with the girl's friends, family members, whomever. Beep, beep. If someone is flirting with other people when they're there to accompany someone, that person is settling. That person, the city, don't you love people who lay on their horns? Whatever. But, okay, so if someone's dating someone and they can't even give them the respect to be solely focused on them in a public scenario, that person's settling. Another time you could say that someone's settling is when they are with someone who seems to be using them for money. And that happens a lot. This person doesn't have a pot to piss in, and then they're with this other person, and they seem sort of like they're just scringing off them. And that is not a relationship. It is a relationship. It's a transactional relationship, but it's not really a relationship. And when you see someone who is a good person, attractive person, there's no reason why they couldn't have a multitude of people, and that's most of us. That's 99.9% of us. There are so many options for us in this world that we do not need to settle. We need to be with somebody who is our equal. Now, we also don't need to be delusional, and if we're a 3, we think we need a supermodel. No. Even if you're a rich 3, no. It's not gonna happen. But if we're all realistic, we all deserve to be with someone who's our equal, don't we? We don't need to settle. So another way that you can tell someone's really settling is when they are giving a lot more than they are receiving. And so they're always the one driving. They're always the one whose car is being used. Like, you don't see, I mean, I've literally seen this. I've seen someone I know was dating this guy, and he was so cheap that he would not even bring his own car because he didn't want to put miles in his own car. He only wanted to put miles on her car. And when he would put gas in her car, since he was driving her car all the time, he would put like a gallon in, 1 gallon, not fill up the tank. Ugh. I mean, that's someone who was settling for somebody who was very cheap also, which is another thing, because cheapness isn't just having to do with money. Cheapness has to do with an inside problem of the person feeling a lack mentality. A lack mentality means they're sort of like, it's the person who is going to take ketchup packets from the store instead of just buying a bottle of ketchup. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe that makes sense if you're on your way to camping and you stopped at a QT and you needed some ketchup. Okay, then I could get it. But you know what I meant. You really do. So those things are just things that are clues that someone you know is settling. Now, let's talk about when we are settling. How do I know when I'm settling? How do you know when you're settling? You know when you're settling. You know what? You know how you know? Inside, you just feel this discomfort, and you know that your self-worth, your feeling of self-worth is shaky. It's on shaky ground. When you feel that feeling like, I'm not sure about myself anymore. Number one, if you're feeling that way, just don't even date. Work on yourself, get some self-help books, commit to working out once a day, even if it's only for 5 minutes or something. Do something to make you better. Read a book that makes you smarter. Watch a YouTube video that makes you smarter. Even if you're only watching it for 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, an hour a day would be great. But, just commit to something to improve yourself and then go back. But don't date when you feel like you're on shaky ground with your self-esteem. If you don't feel confident, you shouldn't be dating. So when you're settling, you feel, when you introduce that person to people, you might feel a little embarrassed because, I don't know, like, that your friends know that this person is not really a match for you, and you're like, you feel like that. You feel a little uncomfortable. You feel like when you're with them, everything's kind of going okay. But then when you don't see them for a second and they're walking across the room from a distance and you don't recognize it's them at first, you go, ugh, when you realize who it is. If that's happened to you, like when you're with somebody and you're in a happy relationship and you're proud of them and they're proud of you, if either of you sees each other from a distance, walking down the street, there is that moment before you recognize each other, know who it is, where you're like, there's an admiring feeling. You feel admiration. If you're not feeling that, you're settling. And what do you guys think? I mean, what's the hint? How do you know when you're settling? When you're settling, what is your clue? What is your clue inside that says, I'm settling now and I need to do something about it? And how long do you take before you do something about it? Because I feel like all of us have been there. All of us have been settling. All of us have been lonely enough to be with someone who is just, who we have nothing in common with, or very little in common with. And worse, oftentimes we've tried to change them, This is where you put your napkin. This is the fork you use, all this stuff, We've tried to change them instead of just doing the work on ourselves and then going out and finding somebody who's ready to go, who's a plug and play instead of a project. But I believe, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, that once you consciously know in your head that this person is, you're settling, the time between that thought and when you're broken up is very quick. It might be a week, it might be a month. At most, I believe it would be 6 months, at most. And during that time, before you break up with them, each time you start to look at them, you start to look again, and you're like, oh, no, 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 no. You know, for me, I was dating someone who I really found very physically attractive, and I thought he had a wonderful deep voice. I did a video about that. I thought he had an amazing voice, and he had a very attractive accent, which was Russian. But whenever I was around him, he did a few things that made me realize I was settling. But one of them was that if he opened a cabinet door, he would just leave it open. He wouldn't close it. So it was kind of like if a cyclone walked through our house, you know, like anything he touched was made worse. One time he left my faucet running. So then one of my cabinets in the bathroom got like sort of, it didn't get ruined because I found the water running down, but just dumb things like that where my respect went down. And I knew I was settling. I hit a lot of good points, but I knew I was settling. And once I realized that and I couldn't fake it anymore, it was very soon until we were no longer together. And actually, to be quite honest, because he was so handsome, I did see him maybe like once in a while, however often after that, and when I was lonely, because he would always tell me, you know, all these wonderful things about how in love with me he was, blah, 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 things I wanted to hear when I was lonely. And I was just wasting time. And finally, even though I knew I was settling and I didn't respect him because of his, I don't know, I think he was raised by wolves or something. I mean, and I couldn't change him. I tried, waste of time. But I finally had to block his number, because otherwise I would be possibly tempted to answer a text from him, right? And now I never know when he texts. And I guarantee you, if I go look, he is right where I left him. He is not some changed man. Some woman did not get her claws into him and make him great and dateable. He is exactly how he was. So what he has to do is he has to be with somebody who also is a slob and doesn't mind that kind of thing, you know? That's a match. That's an equal. Life is so interesting, isn't it? We get these experiences with all these different people, and we find things we love about them, but we get closer and closer to figuring out who we are and what we can actually be happy with. And I really believe that we can all be happiest with our equal. Not someone we have to change, someone that we already love. Plug and play, ready to go. Nothing about them that makes us cringe. If you're cringing, you're settling. If you see your friend and you're cringing for them, they're probably settling. Now, here's a question. Should you tell them? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I am the kind of person where I would like if my friend said, you know, you're settling, right? I would think I like constructive criticism. I appreciate it. Like, even if you hate my video and you give me constructive criticism, I appreciate it. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I'm just like, oh, that's a good point. I should learn from that. So I value it more than someone fluffing my buttercups and saying. But some people don't like constructive criticism. And some people, if you tell them something helpful, they'll actually go and do the opposite just out of stubbornness. I think it's called obstinate personality disorder. It's like where 2-year-olds, terrible twos, if you tell them to do something and they say no, you know, and they're more and more stubborn. Some people are like that even as adults. So I don't know, you tell me. If you have a friend who's completely settling, or a loved one or sibling, or, you know, anyone you know that you care about and they're completely settling, would you tell them? Do you think it's helpful? Would you rather someone told you, or would you rather them keep their big mouth shut? Because, you know, I mean, unsolicited advice is my love language, and that's why I have a YouTube channel, and it's not everyone's love language at all. So thank you for watching. Please like and share. Boom, boom. Send it to your friends who might be interested, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. Live a great story. Bye.